Hello, everyone. Good morning. Um, Welcome to the CwPAMS 2 reporting webinar. My name is Ji-Hoon Yu, Programs Coordinator here at THET and Grants Manager to some of you. And I'm joined by my colleague, Fiona, also Programs Coordinator here at THET. And today we'll be going over the three types of reporting that you have to submit by the 13th of October, and then later on in April and October next year as well. So first, I will take you through the programs portal where you'll be doing your quantitative reporting. Then Fiona will take you through the narrative reporting and the financial reporting as well. And then at the end, we have some time for questions. So please put your questions in the chat so we can get to them at the end. All right, let's begin. So all lead partners actually have a login now. So if you go to this link, you should have a login. For now, everyone's password is the same, but once you log in, you can change it. The website link is there on the slide. You can go log in now. The lead partner email address is the UK lead partner and the LMIC lead partner email addresses that you submitted in the application. So if it's not working, just let me know and I can tell you which email address it is, because some partnerships have several email addresses. I hope that works. You can try it now. Then you can follow along as I go through each of the different sections, and that might help sort of, yeah, help you out, visualize what's going on and try it yourself. Yeah, I can give you like 3 minutes to try it out. Just write in the chat or Q&A. I don't know which one is working. Yeah, if the email address isn't working. So each partnership basically has two accounts. Yeah, one for the UK side, one for the LMIC side. And yeah, you can share them as well. So it's not limited to just one person. Several people can use the same account. Not at the same time though, but yeah, you can log in from different computers in different countries. Okay. Oh, actually, yeah, sorry, this things have changed since I made this specific slide. You haven't received an email. You can just go straight to the website and use the email address and log in. So ignore the part where it says you received an email. So yeah. So yeah, Charlotte. Nice. Yes. Charlotte, your partnership, I think I used Zara's email address, if it's CO7. So that's zara.tarek@nhs.net. Sorry, there was just three, and that was the first one on the list. Yeah, I hope it works. Great. Oh, is it not working out? It's ann.mason3@nhs.scot is the email address we have. Um, oh yeah, it would be very good if CPA had their own login. Yes, I will set that up. Sorry. Sorry, Max. Yeah, I'll get to that. Hope it's working for most people. So yeah, I'll just crack on. But if you're having trouble, just let me know. Okay, so this is the login page, as many of you hopefully have seen by now. And once you get in, this is the sort of landing page. The sort of middle feed, it's yeah, not really working. I wouldn't worry about it. Don't click anything. It doesn't really work. But what's important are the tabs at the top there. That's where you'll be navigating to your project, and that's where you'll be submitting your results as well. So now that you're in, you can change your password and email address since, yeah, it's kind of standard. You do that by clicking at your user and then a bunch of numbers at the top there, and then going to My Settings. Okay, great, Charlton. I don't know if anyone from Kings is here, but yeah, you are the example, just so you know. So if you go to My Settings, you will see this page. The email address is going to be my email address, just for when we are setting it up, but you can change this to your email address. This email address is used when you need to reset your password, but it doesn't have to be the same as the username. The username, yeah, kind of already chosen for you. And we can't change that. But you can change the email address where the password reset link goes to, in case you forget it. So yeah, do change that to some one that, yeah, people have access to or that you use regularly. And there's a change password option where you can just change password right now, straight away. And it's fairly simple. Yeah, so I recommend doing that to something that, yeah, is easy enough for other people to also use. But as always, if you're having trouble, just let me know in the chat. Okay. You don't have to do this now, by the way. You can do this at any time. So moving on. So if you go to the second tab is My Organization. This is just an example. It's King's College. You will see your organization, hopefully. Basic information. We haven't really filled any of this out yet. But yeah, we might at some point. More importantly, there's a related button there. And if you press this button, you will see an overview of the projects that your organization is involved in. So some might have more than one. Some might have the old CwPAMS extension ones. Yeah. And this is where you can go directly to your project. You will also see narrative reports at the bottom. Some of you who were in the CwPAMS extension. Okay, and yeah, I'll sort it later with you. Some of you who are in the CPAMS extension may recall that we did our narrative reporting on this portal. We won't be doing this for now in CwPAMS 2, so just ignore that. Yeah, so if you click on your project, you can go straight there. But there's also other ways to get there, so I'll show you in a bit. But I'll just go through the tabs first at the top. So the third tab is contacts. Okay, yes, Pasco. So this is not Pulse. This is the program's portal. This is the link. And if you go there and you put in your email, and then the password, so it's pascohearn@uhd.nhs.uk. And then, yeah, the password is that 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once you get in, you can change it. I can come back to that if you're having if you're not sure what to do. So yeah, the contacts tab is the third tab. Not super useful for now. You can see details on yourself. So now we'll get to the more important bit, what you'll actually be using this for, which is to see your mail plan, to see your targets, if you've set any, and to actually input the results. So, and then, yeah, lastly, I'll be talking a bit about cumulative and non-cumulative. A bit boring, but quite important, so bear with me. Okay, so if you go to My Projects, the last tab, you will hopefully see your projects. If you don't see your project, try changing the view. So this left-hand side corner here, there's a little triangle. If you click that, you get a list. If you select all or projects, hopefully it should show up. Yeah, some of you might see several, again, if you were in the extension program or if you are involved in several grants, or if your organization is involved in several grants, CwPAMS too. Yeah, it's always tricky that you have to always double check the view in the left-hand side corner with Salesforce. So once you're here, it's important that you click the actual name of your project, not the UK partner, LMIC partner, or anything else. So once you go into your project, you should see details, basic details. Yeah, very basic. If anything looks wrong, please reach out to your grant manager. But hopefully everything is as you would expect it. The first tab is the mail plan. That's where you will see your mail plan. Some of you might not see a mail plan here yet. That's because we're in the process of finalizing it, or it just hasn't been uploaded yet. Yeah, but that, I mean, check back next week and hopefully it's all up there if we've agreed on it over email. So this is what all those back and forth in the Excel template sort of translates into the portal. So yeah, you can just keep scrolling to see the full mail plan. The next tab is the targets tab. So these are all the indicators, so the mandatory ones and the ones that are in your mail plan that are specific to your project. We only ask for an interim one, which is the reporting period 2 or RP2 number. So you can ignore RP3 and RP1. RP4, the last reporting period, is the sort of final target or total target that you've set in the Excel template. We haven't added those yet, but we will do that shortly. These can also be changed or adjusted as we go along. So yeah, just keep liaising with your grant manager to make sure that you have the latest figures in the portal. And then, oh, yeah. So the results tab, this is where you will actually be inputting your results for the different reporting periods. the reporting period, you can see on the left-hand side top corner, it says RP1, which means reporting period 1 from April to October. And then the next one is October to April next year, and etc. And then you have the list of the different indicators. Again, same list as the targets. Mandatory ones, you can see some of them here. And also if you've included a non-mandatory ones and the project-specific ones that you've included in your MAL plan in the Excel template. Now, when there's a box, it's fairly straightforward. You just put a number, and this page saves automatically every 5 seconds. So you can always come back to it at a later time and just make sure you sort of wait 5 seconds after you put in a number so that it saves. In some cases, indicators might be slightly different from your MEL plan Excel template. That's either because it was very close to a mandatory one or non-mandatory one, so we included that one instead. Yeah, or we just sort of tweaked it a little bit just to make it make sense for the portal logic. For example, we don't have like a length of time as a measurement. So if one of your indicators was, length of time or amount of hand sanitizer produced or something, then we would have to change that to something else. But yeah, it should mostly be the same as what you have submitted. The layout can look slightly different depending on your computer, just because like your screen can be more squashed. So don't forget to sort of scroll around to see everything. And yeah, I would recommend really take some time to familiarize yourself with this page. This is where you'll be doing your reporting and spending a lot of time. So yeah, as I said before, when there's a box, it's fairly straightforward. You just put in a number, it saves. Now you might notice that some of them have a plus sign. So if you click the plus sign, this means it has a disaggregation. So if you click the plus sign, you will get into this sort of little box, and that's disaggregation. So yeah, some will be disaggregated by cadre, some will be, in this case, it's PPS, so number of sites, whether inpatient, outpatient, or both. Others will be like training topic. We might have added disaggregations to your custom indicators if we felt it was appropriate, but of course, there's always a unknown column. So if you don't have the data disaggregated, then you can always just put the total. And yeah, always remember to scroll because the unknown column is sort of to the right. So yeah, scroll around to make sure you see everything. That's quite important. Okay. And so in the top right-hand side corner of this page, there's a few things here. So if you have a question, just put in the chat. Otherwise, yeah, I'll either answer at the end or yeah, I'll answer in the chat. Sorry. So on the right-hand side corner, top right, there's a little triangle. If you press the triangle, you can download your results. This means you get an offline Excel template to work on, and then you can re-upload that. So then it's in the portal. I'll get back to what that looks like. And then there's the submit button. The submit button, once you press that, it's final. So then you can no longer edit or change the numbers on this page. And grant managers get an email saying, okay, final results have been submitted. So yeah, don't press that unless you're sure that you're done. So the Excel template, it looks like this. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing template. Very, very important that you read the instructions in the instructions tab carefully. And you have to follow it very precisely. Otherwise, yeah, your results won't be uploaded properly. So yeah, please, if you're going to use the Excel template, please read the instructions carefully. Yeah. But yeah, this can be a handy way to work if you prefer to work offline. Okay, now I'll briefly talk about cumulative and non-cumulative. Since I think I'm surrounded by academics, you probably know this a lot better than I do, but I just have to make it very clear. All the results you put in have to be cumulative. That means it has to be total numbers for the entire project. It's obvious for this first reporting period because there's only one number. It's everything you've done until now. But the next reporting period, which will be between October to April next year, please submit the number that is everything you've done up until April next year. So don't put the number of everything you did between October to April. Really important. If you're not sure what I mean, or what number you should be putting in, please reach out to your grant manager. It shouldn't be a problem for this reporting period, but yeah, come March next year, if you're not sure, please reach out to your grant manager. This is fairly important because we have to remain consistent across the various projects. Okay. Sorry, I know that was very quick and a lot. Hopefully that made some sense to you. If not, always reach out to myself or your grant manager if you're having any issues with the portal. We'll be sending out some instructions on an Excel sheet. So you can, yeah. So if you didn't attend this webinar, you can also just go through the instructions and they'll go through each step that you need to do, like we did in this webinar. Yeah, and if you have any questions about this specifically, just put them in the chat and we can come back to it at the end. Okay. Now I'll hand it over to my colleague Fiona, who will be taking you through the narrative and financial. So over to you.
Thanks, Jihoon. Yeah, the steps for how to do the portal are on Pulse, so I can copy a link into the chat. They're under Toolkit and Webinars, just a file, just so everyone's aware. Okay, let me just share my screen. Sorry. So as well as the mail data that you're going to report in the portal, as Jihoon has spoken through, you will also at each reporting period report on your narrative and financial report. So these are due by email on the 13th of October. So everything's due on the 13th of October for this first period, but the narrative and finance report you will complete in Word and Excel respectively, or each, and submit via email to your grant manager, whereas as we've gone through, the mail is all online in the portal. So now I'm going to share my screen with a different document and just go through the narrative report. So for those of you who are unaware, a narrative report is a written report, essentially, that you will complete as a partnership team and then send to us. And it just enables CET and CPA to have a really good understanding of how the project's going, and allows you to write about the challenges, about things that have gone well, about where you might need more help, and in narrative format, as opposed to the MEL plan, which tends to be a bit more kind of numbers focused. So at the top there is some guidance here, which essentially says what I've just said, but in probably a much more coherent way. But yeah, just to highlight that the reporting period that we're talking about is for the 1st of April to the 30th of September. So you just, in each narrative report and each MEL report for each period, you're just reporting on that period's results. So I'm going to scroll through and go through the questions. Please put in the chat any questions that come up as we're thinking about them, or we can give you access to talk if that's easier, if you would like that. So yeah. So the first thing is if there's any important changes in your project team. These, you click here and you can delete this. Please enter your answer here, and the box expands as you type, so you can see, you can go down. So that's where you can enter your answer. Again, the names and contacts of people who have contributed to writing the report. Then the first kind of question is on volunteer placements and surveys. So you literally check this box, you just click it if any volunteers have finished their placement in the last 6 months, and if yes, have they completed the online post-placement survey, and a link to the survey is going to be added here. So what we mean by volunteer placement and surveys is, so this is any volunteer, whether they are in the UK or in country, and if they've finished working as a CwPAMS volunteer during the last reporting period. So for example, maybe someone was really instrumental or helped a lot at the beginning stages, but in August they got a new job at another hospital and they're no longer able to give their time. We would be really interested in hearing their experiences, as I'm sure you might be as your partnership. So we would encourage you to send them the post-placement survey that we're going to share the link to here, to that person, and say, thanks for all of your work on CwPAMS. If you could do this survey, that would be brilliant. Equally, we know that some people are just involved for specific periods and specific projects. So they might have done the specific kind of job that they volunteered to do, as it were, and have finished their placement. This will probably become more apparent as you move through the programme. So maybe it will be less relevant at this reporting period, but more relevant in next reporting period, for instance. But like I say, if anyone has been involved and has left partnership team for whatever reason, then it would be great for them to do this. For everybody else that is kind of, I know a lot of the partnerships are very long-standing and go on over years, and people are involved on a very permanent basis. So for those people, you would only need to complete the survey at the end of the programme. So no need for anybody to complete it that hasn't sort of finished being a member on your partnership team with CwPAMS at the moment. I hope that explanation makes sense, but I appreciate that some of these phrases are, what we mean by placement, etc., is difficult. So please do pop any questions into the chat or the Q&A, or we can unmute you. This is then, I'll just zoom out on this, is your activity plan. So your grant manager, this is just one I made up, your grant manager will copy your activity plan into this section of the report, and you will put, so it will have X's or whatever you used when you did it in your application, and you would replace the X. So for example, so obviously we're reporting on Q1, so if AMS champions have been trained, you would replace this with a Y. So yes, progress as planned. If it was cancelled, you'd put a C. I mean, it says this up here, but if it was delayed or postponed, you put an N, and if it's extended, you put an E. You can add in as comments, so just like a comment, any explanation you might want to give us about that. So if this didn't happen, if it's been cancelled, you could put a C, and then you could put why it was cancelled, just so we have an understanding. You could also add an X in Q2 if, for example, it just was meant to happen, I don't know, in September and it didn't, it's going to happen in October, then you could put an X into Q2. Similarly, I know that a lot of projects have developed since application phase, so please do add rows where things have developed. However, if things haven't happened, we would appreciate knowing that they've been cancelled rather than you just deleting the row, because obviously some of the activities are mandatory that all of CwPAMS partnerships have to do. So just so we can understand if those activities have happened or not is basically what this activity matrix gives us. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory, but again, if there's any questions, please do pop them in the chat. And, you know, obviously this will go on to more pages for actual activity plans. So notes on unforeseen or unplanned and cancelled activities. So yeah, this is kind of an opportunity to explain any of those cancelled activities above, or any unforeseen activities that have happened, and how they've contributed to your project. Just as a note, we're not expecting tons of writing. We recommend, you know, around 300 words. So yeah, so please don't think that this is kind of a whole, you know, essay. It's really not. We're just looking to understand how things are going, and really to, so in the view of supporting any of you that might request it or might be struggling with certain aspects of the project. So then we move on to project results. So this section is all about the narrative responses against activities, all the MEL indicators in the portal. So any challenges which have affected your ability to deliver the project. So whereas above is asking for any new activities or any cancelled activities, this question is about any difficulties or challenges that you've had. Again, you just type like always and it expands. This could include things such as partnership working. So, you know, some of you are really new partnerships, some of you are really long established partnerships. There might be challenges in both of those scenarios, new people, different changes within site, etc. So if you're having any challenges around partnership working, please do detail these. Similarly on project activities, similarly on the MEL plan, we know that for a lot of you, especially who are new partnerships, it's your first time doing a MEL plan and then collecting that data. So any issues that you've encountered along the way is really important for us to know about, both in terms of our own learning and the MEL process, but also in terms of the challenges that you've had collecting the data that we're asking of you, so we can kind of understand that and see how we can help or change future programs, etc. And then, yeah, please outline here if you would like any further support and what that would look like. I'm just going to pause so anyone can put anything in the chat, but we will have obviously time for question and answers at the end. Yes, then we move on to partnership and project achievement and highlight. So any kind of significant progress that relates to the project objectives that you haven't kind of captured within your MEL plan, really, or anything that you might want to tell us more about anecdotally if you did a really great training session and yeah, you want to let us know about it, or you think that other partnerships could learn from it, etc., then you can pop that in here as well. This is a table about training. So in this table, we're gathering the data on type of training that your partnership has conducted. Subject of training. So AMS, IPC, etc. Then the type of training. So if it was face-to-face, a workshop, a virtual workshop, maybe it was a questionnaire, maybe it was an online video, CPD platform, whatever it might be. And then the learning outcomes that were assessed. So these are the subjects of training that we're asking about. And then a very similar table, but for this one is asking about conducting awareness raising activities or interventions. So it might be a community engagement event, for example. And then you'd input your target group. Just to kind of reiterate, we obviously appreciate that this is the first reporting period, so a lot of these things are going to come later. So it might be that you're conducting all your awareness raising events in the next quarter, and that's absolutely fine. You can just leave this table, but obviously if you've said you've conducted it in the activity plan, then this is your chance to kind of input those results. I can just see for section 2.7 PPS is meeting. Good question, hang on. Yeah, so that would be training on PPS. So you might have conducted a training healthcare workers on how to conduct a PPS. You might also have conducted a PPS, but that is one of the mandatory indicators in the portal in your MEL plan. So here you would say, yes, we did a PPS training. It was a face-to-face workshop and the learning outcomes were X, Y, Z. In the portal, the question is, don't quote me on this, but something along the lines of how many institutions have conducted a PPS in this reporting period. So it might be one institution, and was it inpatient or outpatient or both inpatient and outpatient PPS? So I hope that answers that question. Great, thank you. So then 2.9 is all about data and learning. So this is kind of a yes, no, and then further information if you've answered yes. So have you developed, revised, adopted any AMS or IPC guideline tools or protocols into your institutions since the start of the project? And if yes, details of the implementation plan to use them effectively. Again, max 100 words. Have you shared any PPS data with an MTC or AMS committee? And if yes, has this resulted in any stewardship intervention? So you can literally put like Y or N, and then obviously your comments. Do you share information about the outcomes of your CwPAMS project with national stakeholders? If yes, please give a description of what these are. And if this is something you aren't doing, we'd be interested to hear about the barriers to you doing that. And we'd encourage you to discuss with your ICC, so in-country consultant, around this, if this is something you would like to do, which we would encourage. Next question is, during this reporting period, have you reported data specific to substandard and falsified antimicrobial medicines? Have you shared any laboratory data with clinical or IPC teams? And have you shared any laboratory data with AMS committees or MTCs? And then there's just a note about the processes on the bottom here. Again, obviously, all the projects have different aims. It might not be within your aim to do some of these things, and that's absolutely fine. We just have created one narrative template so that encaptures everything. But if it's not part of your aim, if you're not at this stage yet to, maybe reporting on substandard and falsified medicines, if that was not something you said you were going to do in your initial application, then that's fine. You would just leave this section or just put no. Is absolutely fine. Similarly, you might be planning to do this later. Again, you would just put no, and that's fine. We can see on your activity plan, hopefully, that this is something that's coming in a later period. Chat and sharing activities is at 2.8. Section 2.7, sharing activities. Can we put not applicable as in not include in MEL or project plan? Yes, if it's not in your MEL, in your project plan to do this, yeah, you can put not applicable, that's fine. Rather than no, yeah. And sharing activities is 2.8. Yeah, so 2.8 is all about awareness raising activities or interventions and the subjects of those, as opposed to training, which is more about, like training on these subjects, presumably for healthcare staff, but maybe not necessarily, I don't know. Hope that makes sense. Great, thank you. Okay, so moving on to AMS committee. So we've just got a question here about how your AMS committee has developed during this reported period, which could include a list of activities. So we've just inputted about 5 bullet points here, but you can just note down how your committee has developed. And we've just said what we mean by a fully operational AMS committee there. So we consider this to be one which has a terms of reference, a governance, reporting system, and one that meets regularly. A very similar question regarding hub and spoke activities. So obviously this question is only applicable to category A grantees. But yeah, just providing examples of activities or plans undertaken by hub institutions to support activities and plans amongst spoke institutions. And again, just bullet pointing some examples or giving a bit more detail if you'd like to, that would be really useful for us. We have multiple hospital sites, and so we deal with all separately. Julie, I'm not quite sure which question you're relating to. Let me see if I can unmute you. Hi, Julie. I don't know if could you just explain? Sorry.
Yes,
oh, the AMS committee question.
Yes, because we have kind of multiple sites, and so the AMS committees are at variable stages within all of the sites. So I guess, do we give an overarching summary or detail for each of the site here?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just wanted to put, spoke one or the name of it, and then a brief summary of where it's at, that would be great. Really, this is so our CPA colleagues can kind of understand how AMS committees are developing. Obviously, this is a key kind of output for CwPAMS, and think about any support that it might be useful, or any, things that your project might be doing that are really good that we could, get you to share with other projects, etc., and things like that. So I think, yeah, it worked for those that have multiple sites. Having a brief understanding of each would be really useful, if that's something you're able to give at this stage. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so then we're moving on to gender equality and social inclusion. This is again, we know that in your MEL plan, you have the GESI goal, and it's more, a lot of them at least, and some of them are still in data, are more quantitative. So maybe like number of staff trained or number of focus groups around GESI, etc. So this would be more of an anecdotal description of how that goal or goals are going, and what's working well and any difficulties encountered. I know that a lot of you will have been present at the GESI webinar last week, and we went, or 2 weeks ago, and we went into this in quite a lot of detail. So I think there we kind of really, you know, we know that this is new. We discussed this is new, and it's a learning process for us in CPA as well as yourself. So really open to hearing feedback about how this is going and what more support you would like as well. And yeah, as I said, then we're kind of thinking more about how we can share GESI learning across the partnerships throughout the stages. So it'd be really great, basically, with this question to hear how people are getting on and how we might be able to do that. Okay, chat. Oh yeah, so Julie, Helena from CPA has just put a better answer in the chat, so apologies. But hopefully that's useful for that question on AMS committees. Okay, I'm just going to move on to the policy question. So we're interested to know how the health partnership involved in CPAMS have influenced policy in the LMIC context beyond the institutions or implementation site. So please reflect on the following questions and respond where appropriate for your partnership in the last 6 months. So again, type in here. I'm just going to pause so we can all read through those questions, and if anybody has any questions on them, please let us know. Okay, again, I appreciate that this is the first reporting period, so you know it might be that things on policy will become later down the line, but we really want to just keep this narrative report as consistent across reporting periods as we can, which is why we're including kind of everything at this stage. Finance, so we're gonna talk briefly about the finance report in a minute, but in that finance report there is a opportunity in the last column for you to give commentary. If there's anything that you have questions about finance or you haven't been able to cover in your finance report for whatever reason, then you can please share this with us here, or any help you need reporting finance, etc. But for a lot of you, you'll have written the narrative in the finance report, and that will be enough. So no need to kind of complete this question unless you would like to share anything else. Then we've got this reporting checklist. So these are kind of other things that you might have ready to submit. So please submit with this report any pre-AMS assessment tools for any new sites or spokes onboarded during this period. So if we haven't had your pre-AMS assessment tool for spoke sites, and this was something that you were doing during this period, then please attach that when you submit these. Please list any updated AMS action plans for any existing institutions, or newly developed AMS action plans for any spoke sites or institutions during this reporting period. So if you've updated your AMS action plan, it'd be great to see a new version. Similarly, if you've got any new ones, also would like to see them. Then a question about the prescribing companion app. So has the app been shared and cascaded across all partnerships and shared with any relevant in-country partners? And have you developed any institutional-based guidelines that would be suitable consideration to host on the prescribing app? And if you have, If you think you've got a guideline that it could go onto that app, then please submit it with the report and CPA will review that. This question is for our, so THET and CPAs. Oh, hang on, let me just see in the chat. Yes, so for Kenya, yeah, I think those guidelines are still pending, but aren't on the app yet. But what, in discussion of whether they can be uploaded. Upload the WHO one in turn in. I'm not sure. I'm going to let CPA answer that question. So CPA colleagues, Max, how do I, let me find you and let me unmute you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, thanks to him.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fiona, and thank you, B, for the question. I think if we have agreement at site level, if it's a site document, a site-based document or national-based document, we would need a formal agreement that it should be uploaded on the app, and then that should be okay with us. All we need is to confirm that the authority who are in charge of that particular document have authorized approval, and we should be able to work with our app champions in country to get that document uploaded. So I think we can be in touch. If we see that the approval process is all done, then we work out a way of how we can get that on the app. I hope that answers.
Great, thank you, Max. And thank you, B, for the question. Yeah, thank you everyone for your questions. Okay, so then, yes, this is a checklist of what tools and tasks you have completed, which I'm going to make into the tick box checklists, but I just haven't done it yet. So that will be a checkbox list as well. You can just tick the box like the first question at the top if you've used this. And it's just really for us to understand what tools that we develop are useful for you and are being used. Then there's a question, what kind of support from THET and CPA has been most useful and why, and what type of support would be useful for the rest of the programme? So this is really an opportunity for you to give us feedback, and we would really, really welcome that. So please, you know, I know you'll be completing these as a partnership, but please do make sure that everyone has a say in what might be useful, because we know that different people are working on different things. So yeah, we'd be really pleased to hear feedback on that. And then a final question on reporting, on communications during this reporting period. So if you've got publications related to CwPAMS, provide the link and any social media posts. I'm going to pause for a couple of minutes just in case anybody has questions, because I appreciate typing them in the chat. It takes a bit longer than, or you can also raise your hand and we can unmute you. Okay, I'm going to take silence as we're fine. So let me reshare my screen. Okay. Next. So financial reporting. So because everybody category A and B's have been involved with CwPAMS before. Oh, hang on, question. Oh, okay, that's Max. Great, thanks, Max. So because category A and B's have been involved in CwPAMS before, and category C's have already done one finance report for us for the inception period, we're not going to go through financial reporting today. However, please do go and watch this video. We'll pop the link to it in the chat. But yeah, like it's really useful with one of our colleagues going through exactly how to do a finance report. It tells you how to calculate exchange rate. It tells you, you know, how the transaction list pulls through to the budget, etc. So if anyone's got any questions on financial reporting, really happy to answer them in the Q&A section. Similarly on exchange rates, etc. There's also the finance toolkit, which is in your welcome pack, which is on Pulse. If you haven't sort of downloaded that before. So yes, please go and look at the finance toolkit as well, because that talks you through step by step the financial processes. Just a reminder really that your next chance of funding will not be released until we've looked at the reports and done the spot checking of the receipts. That is outlined in all of your contracts, so hopefully you're all aware, but just a reminder to look out for the emails from the grant manager asking for the spot check of receipt. So we will select around 3 receipts at random from your transaction list and ask you for those receipts, and that will come in the 2 weeks following the reporting deadline. So please look out for that. Once we've received the receipts and they are fine, then we will release the next tranche of funding to you. If anybody has any questions about that or issues on that with your budgets, please, we can either talk about it at the end here or be in contact with your grant manager. But yeah, I mean, the tranche, just in case anyone is unaware, I know Category Cs are just kind of finalising the grant variation agreement. So the tranches of funding that is in your grant agreement are almost always exactly the same as what is in your phased budget. So it's the budget you submitted to us. We then say, okay, so for Q1, they're going to spend 10 grand. So we'll transfer them that in advance, which is what you would have got at the beginning of the programme, as an example. So that's how those tranches of funding works and are calculated. Okay, I can't see any questions, so I'm going to move on. So upcoming sessions, yeah, just a reminder, we've got the safeguarding webinar next week. We're going to be taking attendance at that. So please make sure that one person from each lead partner is present. And if you're going to have issues attending, or if that's not going to be possible, please let us know in advance. We've then got 2 drop-in sessions. And this is just, it will be a meeting on Zoom, and just come and ask us any questions. So whether it's to do with the portal, whether it's to do with Jessie, whether it's to do with anything, just drop in and ask us. There'll be a few of us available on the call, so we can go into breakout rooms, depending on like the topics or specific people's questions. Obviously, these aren't the only times you can chat to us. Please do email your grant managers with any questions. We're happy to, you know, have calls with about specific things as well. But we've just set these 2 sessions up as kind of a anyone can join, we'll be on Zoom situation. And then there are the country catch-ups. So a couple of country catch-ups have already happened. I hope those were useful. Please do give us feedback on them. And the others are happening between September and November. So look out for communication from your ICC. I don't think any of the other days have been set yet, as far as I know. But we will put them on Pulse once we get them, the dates as well. I think the ICCs are trying to coordinate between what's best for partnerships in countries. So yeah, I can see a few questions coming in. Oh no, that's a very good question. They are BST. Sorry, Pasco. That's me thinking we've gotten forward with the clocks when we haven't yet. Yeah, so yeah, BST. Yes, these are our contacts. Get in touch with us. So if you've got anything specifically on the portal, please contact Jehoon. You can contact your grant managers about this as well, but Jehoon's kind of has all the knowledge on the portal, and that and then obviously the grant managers there as well as myself. I know a lot of you have my email address, so do contact any of us or the grants email. Oh, Julie, yes, good question. So the narrative and finance reports are personalised to each partnership, because they the activity plan at the beginning of the narrative is your activity plan. We will copy and paste that in from your application. So it will be emailed to you along with the finance report, which will also be personalised because it has the budget in it, which is your budget. So you don't need to input your budget. So they will be emailed to you within the next week. Yeah, we're aiming to get everything out by the 21st of September in terms of the narrative and budget. We just need to have the time to go through them and input all those specific details. So yeah, if you haven't had them by the 21st, please be in contact. And we had problems last year working jointly across portal. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna let you come in, but because I last year in CwPAMS 1.5, I was working within one of the partnerships, so I was kind of on the other side of this. What we did is we used our mail plan, which is an Excel sheet, which you will have, to kind of input where we were, and then 1 or 2 people went into the portal to input the results. So you can have a Google sheet, or however you work across your partnership normally online. We used Google Sheets to get this data, but Jahoon, you might have more expertise.
Yes, we did receive some feedback last time about this specifically. So yeah, hopefully giving sort of separate accounts to UK and LMIC leads that are properly separated. Last time it wasn't properly separated. So hopefully this will address that to some extent. Yeah, but do let me know if you're struggling with this, and we'll look into it. But yeah, fingers crossed, it should be fine. Thanks.
Yes, any other questions, please do let us know. Otherwise, really thank you all for coming today and listening. And please do be in touch when you encounter any issues or if you have any questions. I'm just going to leave this Zoom open for a few minutes to see if there's any questions, but please do raise your hand or put them in the chat. Thank you, Pasco, for coming. Thank you, everybody. I'm glad it's been useful. Like I've said, there's so much on Pulse, and like Jahoon said, so please do go in and look at the step-by-step guidance. Actually, I can, if I stop sharing, I can put the link to the guidance in the chat. That is the link on Pulse to the portal guidance. for anybody. Well, please do go and look at it, I would. Okay, I can't see any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. So I'm going to close in a minute. Give you all a minute to think of anything. Okay, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you CPA colleagues for answering questions as well. And see you all next week at the safeguarding webinar.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Yeah, have a good day.